I'm trying to race and review every kart track in Queensland, and here's my review for Cairns Kart Track.
Let's start with the #1 factor for Australian rental karting, the cost. I ran 3 races here, which cost me a total of $110. Each race was about 12 laps. An average lap was about 35 seconds. If we put that into the calculator, it comes out to about $5.20 a minute. That is the absolute higher end of rental karting tracks. But in my opinion, it might actually be worth it. Not for a regular track day, but for a one-off event, I think the track's good enough to justify that price. Here's why. Starting on the track layout, Cairns Kart Hire is a fast-flowing, outdoor, but very narrow, track with an emphasis on high-speed corners and keeping the momentum. Because it's outdoor, the #1 best thing of rental karting is possible: wet weather driving. This track has 2 things that separate it from any other rental karting tracks I've driven: concrete apexes and mostly functioning track limits. Now, the concrete apexes are actually a bit of a letdown. They don't really affect the driving experience very much, and instead they kind of just serve as corner cuts. However, the driving is significantly changed by the track limits at 3 different corners of the track. The track limits are harsh, extremely harsh. Not that I would know, because I'm actually goated and I've never hit the track limits. But let's say someone else, hypothetically, did hit the track limits. Their engine would have significantly slowed down and caused the entire lap to be a write-off. Again, this doesn't apply to me because my ring finger has more driving skill than Max Verstappen. But for your average driver, the track limits are put in 3 extremely fun corners that naturally reward commitment. But with the track limits there, you get this absolutely heavenly feel of balancing commitment whilst not putting a single wheel over the track limits and just staying under that absolute driving limit. Overall, I rate this track an 8.5 out of 10 for track layout. It's hurt by its minimal braking and narrow walls, but it's helped significantly due to its extremely unique track limits and interesting concrete apexes. Continuing on the trend of this track rewarding driver skill, it is narrow, extremely narrow at some points. And because of this, you would think wheel-to-wheel racing is impossible. But in my experience, it's just really hard. The corners do often allow switchbacks to start, and they can continue throughout the sequence. Every single corner sequence has a semi-long straight on the end of it, which, if you can do the whole side-by-side through every part, you can finish a move. However, most of the time you're just going to be running out of room. However, crucially, and this is crucial, you have other options. You don't have to go for the switchback. This track has a few tightening corners, which you can absolutely send it through like a prime Daniel Ricciardo, licking the stamp and making your opponent watch you drive by. If you're close enough and quick enough, I dare say it's actually easy, and it's practically impossible for a defending driver to defend both the outside and the inside. But if you're not quick enough, you may as well give up. Just tuck in behind them because you are not getting an overtake done this century. Overall, I have to rate this track a 6 out of 10 for raceability, because whilst it's not terrible for overtaking, and moves can be set up, especially on much slower cars. Equal pace moves are so hard they may as well be a Sisyphean task. You need your opponent to make a mistake. You need your opponent to fuck up, because otherwise you're not getting through. Just give up. Thankfully though, I didn't run into that issue, because I'm multiple-time race winner DB77, who has never made a single mistake in his life. And if you're quick as me, this track may as well be Spa for how wide it is and how easy it is to set up a move. Now, on to the most important part of the review, and the part that sets this track out from the rest. I raced this track during a very wet morning. Because of this, Session 1 was absolutely soaking. Session 2, still drying a little bit. Session 3, dry everywhere but Turn 1. And can I just say, this track was incredible in the wet. This track rewarded commitment. It rewarded a driver willing to kick the rear end out, and was just an absolute joy to drive. As a general rule of rental karting, you're battling understeer in the wet. Not so much here. Yeah, there were a few corners where the front slicks were crying out in pain, but generally, you could just easily rotate the rear end and hold the angle, power sliding through all the corners and just flying. In my later session, I got to see how the track dried, and whilst very inconsistent, Dare I say it, the track was more fun in this condition. Turn 1 stayed wet throughout all 3 races. But that's okay, because Turn 1 was more fun than Suzuka S's. I'm just gonna say it. And the high-speed understeer corners, the ones that originally weighted down the wet, they actually dried out the quickest. In Session 3, I genuinely got the best of both worlds, with a huge drift into Turn 1, and then high-speed traction, fast corners, praying to God sweepers for the rest of the lap. And I was quick too. The track was quick as well. In this condition, I set a top 100 lap time, which you would think would be impossible with a puddle in the middle of Turn 1. This is the track's strongest area in my opinion, and in the 4 or 5 tracks I've raced in the rain, there's not been an experience quite like this. It's by far our strongest area, and I'm giving it 5 bonus points as a wet weather tiebreaker. If this is tied with any other track at the end of the season, you bet your ass I'm ranking it above the rest. All in all, Cairns Kart Hire Track is a solid track, and it's almost certainly the best track in all of North Queensland. Not that there's much competition. And while yes, my heart will always go out to Pit Stop, my home track, there is nothing else quite like Cairns. The only issue is the huge price tag, which might be the most expensive track in Australia. But if you're racing there for a one-off event, whilst you're in this part of the country, there are literally 0 best options. You may as well go.